Hello, welcome back to LIVENODING. In this episode, I want to show you how you can extract random value from geometric nodes, but it's going to be kind of the weird and hard ways to actually generate random value like this. Okay, so I'm actually using simulation nodes just to extract this random value, and I will tell you the reason why. But before I do that, I gotta show you this one first. Okay, let's take a look. We basically have random value being generated over here using these nodes, right? So this actually works. This node works, but sometimes we want to be able to view and preview the value, and apparently we can actually do that as well. So this is the setup that I came up with. This seems like overly complex just to generate and visualize random value. However, this is kind of necessary with geometry nodes. In some cases, it might look like super complicated, but it's actually kind of interesting. So I have this random value, and I store it into this attribute called blah. So I don't use much of this attribute at the moment, but it's actually really powerful. You can store attributes, custom attributes, and then take a look at the value anytime, whenever you like it. In this case, I'm using this viewer node. So whenever you have like a viewer node, you're able to kind of see the value as long it's between 0 and 1 value. So it needs to be normalized. If you go really high, then all you can see is just white. But you can have this grayscale, and you know that each of the grayscale is representing the value between 0 and 1 because it's random value between 0 and 1, right? And I have this amount of points, in this case, randomly placed, and what I really want to do here in actually to instance each of the value as a string curve objects, like I want this to be as a typography object, like the way we can do it using Spherechalk. But in geometry nodes, of course, it doesn't really work like that yet, but you can kind of simulate that using simulation nodes. So that's why I kind of experimenting last night with this. So this is what I got. So we can have random points value, or we can have grid. In this case, I'm using grid. This is what you have seen before. Let's get rid of the grid. Instead, we can also use mesh line. So mesh line, I can say, okay, 100. Generate 100 value. And just, random value between whatever. Okay, in this case, between 0 and 10, I can make it between 0 and 100. It's gonna update itself, and it's in fact it did kind of spit out the text with this value, and on every frame the simulation nodes will actually generate a new instance of kind of like a text object. Okay, it's still kind of weird that this is actually working, but I think this is a pretty good example, even though it's probably not perfect, but it's like slightly confusing, but it's gonna show you kind of like the basic concept of how geometry nodes work at the moment. So we can have a random value plug into points node as well, right? So we can plug this in like that, and we can generate, okay, in this case 50, okay, 50 random numbers generated at random positions, and then after 50, it's gonna continue generating. However, the next one is gonna be, you know, it's not feasible somehow. But that's actually a good, interesting point as well. Yeah, I don't know. I just turn on the ambient occlusion so we can see the text. I think it's kind of, even though it's super basic, it's kind of beautiful that way, the way we can generate the value like this. So let me try to explain this properly. So the geometry coming in and we store the value as blah, and we are generating random value. Okay, we understand that. And the next thing, I'm using this sample index. The first one is sampling the position that we generated, random value, and the second one is sampling this blah value. We can actually observe this value using the viewer node once again. It should still work if I give it a value between 0 and 1. Let me, okay, this is value between 0 and 1, and I just plug this into blah, and this one also go to the blah. Now we can see the value, obviously. But this value is going to be too small, so that's why I go up with this integer and plug this value there. We cannot view that anymore unless we reduce the value, but this big value can be seen like that over there, like this big number between 0 and 100 integer number. Since this is simulation node, we cannot really change the number after it's being generated, at least unless we change the setup. But as you can see, this is actually working quite well. So 100 generated value translated into text object, and then using the sample index, and then this one goes into the output of the position because it's a single index value. At every frame, geometry nodes will pick a single value, and the reason we have to do this is because string to curve only accept a single value from value to string. And I think this example is the best to show you how value to string can work with string to curve. And yeah, I'm using this instant on points, and then I plug it into simulation nodes, and then in the end I realize the instances, and I believe we can actually just extrude. I don't know if random value extrude will work as well. I think it should. Yeah, you get this messy thing. That's because this should be end gone. Oh well. Don't worry about extruding mesh like that for now. But as you can see, this is working. And then if you, okay, I cannot just duplicate it like that, but if I want to bake it, if I want to just apply, we get the mesh and we can extrude it like normally. And yeah, this is random value generated. This is, I know this is like kind of weird, and it's kind of like what is this? Why is this so complicated? Why is it needs to be like this? The thing is it doesn't need to be like this, but the conceptual ideas, if you understand this, then you can actually move on to the next level of geometry nodes, I think, in a way. So it could be simpler, but this idea, okay, we start with random value points scattered, right? and then we are generating random value numbers, and we put it inside blah attributes, and then again I'm separating this into one value at a time. So one value at a time is evaluated from the index, and then we can sample index. We can sample the value using the index this way. This is just one way. Just like I think if you are using Sverchok nodes, this kind of thing is actually much simpler. But geometry nodes also does thing that's Sverchok. It's kind of getting complicated if you are using Sverchok, but in a way it's kind of similar. You are generating multiple value here, and then you can separate it using its index. And the way this works and combine back together is because we are using simulation input and output over here. If we actually have like a loop, or like if we can use repeat node in the next version of Blender, it's gonna be a lot simpler. But for now we can do it this way, and it's actually working, and I'm pretty happy with this setup, and definitely video that I want to share with you guys. So hopefully this is useful. I know it's a bit crazy to have to do so many nodes just to generate something like this, just to output random value as text. It's very basic. You can use Python to do this as well, and you can use Sverchok like I have shown you in the previous episode. Sverchok is just pretty amazing in that case. I just want to show you again. Random value, plug into that guy, and then using vector p field, just randomize. If geometry nodes, I'm pretty sure with geometry nodes you can also do this kind of thing quite easily. But say 5 by 5 by 5, this is 125, right? See, with Sverchok you can easily evaluate value like that. Get the total value, the total number of the vertices, plug this into that guy. So whatever value we have here, it will generate the objects for us. You can randomize the positions. With Sverchok, of course, with the typography viewer, we actually gonna end up with hundreds of text objects. Yeah, but that's kind of side effects of this. But I just want to show you this is possible. But with geometry nodes, it's a single object. It's a single object that updating using simulation nodes. It's probably more efficient like this, just the way it's designed. With Sverchok, you're gonna end up with hundreds of objects. But still pretty cool to be able to do this. It's just you can do anything basically with geometry nodes and Sverchok, but there are things that's slightly more complicated to set up. So yeah, I think this is quite important to show you anyway. All right, so thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.